Welcome to the inaugural first episode of the Offside Traps football podcast. We're all really excited to do it. We have here three amazingly knowledgeable and passionate football supporters. We have Dan Fox.
Hello.
He's a Fulham supporter. We have Dan Medlicott, also known as Flan.
Hello.
He's an Arsenal man. And we have Adam Mepham.
Hi.
Also known as Meps, and he's a Man U supporter. I'm David Fent, also called Dave or Maeve, and I don't support any team, but
We'll change that.
I'm mildly interested in football. My exposure to football has culminated in me going to the Maracana Stadium in 2004, seeing a Palace game in 2015, and being given an Emil Heskey t-shirt about 10 years ago. And I'm told that he was or is a footballer of the calibre of George Best and Pele. But
he's really top level, though. You should cherish
top level
that.
player. So that's about the level of my football knowledge. But we're hoping that this is going to be an interesting and fun podcast for people to listen to. We do have a Twitter handle for this.
You're very confident in the world of social media, aren't you?
Hashtag. Since setting it up, we've actually come up with a couple of other names. Offside Chaps.
Yep, that's a new Twitter account just pointing out when people's dicks flop out in football matches.
And Offside.
Peter Beardsley took that one.
Yeah.
And Offside Twats, which will probably become a regular feature of our podcast.
And I think we've got, is it 4 followers now already?
We have 4
It's absolutely
followers.
flying, isn't it? Yeah.
There's 2 tweets.
Yeah.
2 tweets.
And three of those followers are sat around this table.
All right,
I haven't yet opened my Twitter account, but I will set it up. And to those listeners who would like to get more information or would like to ask us any questions, please feel free to leave comments and any questions, and we'll answer them in the next episode.
Yeah, drop us a tweet.
Yeah, drop us a tweet
If you like it.
Retweet.
Like and subscribe.
Hashtag it.
Hashtag.
Is that how it goes?
You can hashtag. We'd have to come up with a hashtag. Let's use the hashtag. If you want to discuss this episode, use the hashtag Offside Chaps. Just to be extra confusing.
At Peter Beardsley.
At in Peter Beardsley, if you want to get a second opinion on your offside chap.
And penises straight offside.
He wasn't offside, but then he saw an attractive man or woman in the crowd, and he strayed offside by about 6 inches.
That's generous. Of
There's no daylight.
Well, let's just dive straight in. So we've got various things we want to talk about. Let's talk about
the transfer
The
season.
transfer-
The
yeah.
transfer
So
window.
we'd like to talk about the transfer season or transfer window, whichever one.
When Dave turned up earlier and he brought his piece of paper with 4 words on it, 2 of them were transfer season, which tells you a lot about how this is going to go. So, yeah.
Like the old days when you could just transfer someone whenever you wanted.
Oh, I mean, I'd love it.
Bring back the transfer season. Anything can happen. Mid-match transfers.
So what's your concept of the transfer season, Dave? Or window, whatever you want to start calling it with season.
I think it's where, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's where players are transferred. Am I right?
I mean, yeah.
Am I getting close?
Yeah.
I don't quite know why or how or why footballers need to be transferred so much, but I'm sure you guys will enlighten me. So, what's been happening this week?
So far, this transfer window,
Use proper terminology.
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
not really much has happened. Like, there's a lot. There's not even actually that much chat. Really, there's been some quite big money moves.
Bournemouth signed 2 people, didn't they, from Liverpool?
Solanke for
Solanke
19
for
million.
19 and Nathaniel Klein on loan, isn't it? Yeah.
Solanke for 19 is an interesting one, considering he's never done anything ever in any league.
The thing with Solanke as well is I mean, I'm a Man United fan. I'll apologise for that now, but because obviously I live in Surrey. But I'm also a Palace season ticket holder, and Palace were linked with Solanke, and rumour has it they pulled out of that transfer because there was concerns over his fitness, and then 2-3 days later Liverpool go and sell him to Bournemouth for 19 million. So it's an intro. I don't know. It's an intro. Apparently he's not fit until March. So I read today. I don't know if that's correct, but yeah. If that's the case, then yeah, it's a lot of money. I mean, British talent these days does automatically attract high high money, but I still think 19 million for someone that, like you say, has not really performed anywhere at any level is it's a lot.
For Bournemouth, it's lucky they're having quite a kind of anonymous mid-table season, really. So I guess it's the perfect season to sign an unproven striker who might be brilliant but hasn't actually done anything. Because you think if they suddenly ran into trouble and started dropping down the table a bit, being like, in March we might have someone who's good, we spent £19 million on him, probably isn't going to cheer up any of the fans. Or they'll have that thing where, because he's not playing, he just becomes like better and better in everyone's eyes until they're like, well, we've got to get Solanke out there, and then he'd come on, and if he does anything other than score a hat-trick, he'll be a disappointment to everyone.
I think some of it as well is, I think there's obviously the big rumour that Callum Wilson might go to Chelsea. So I think some of it might be preparing for that, and they obviously let Defoe go off to Rangers as well. I mean, it could work. Solanke could work, but I don't know. It's an unjustifiable fee when you've scored a handful of goals.
Callum Wilson to Chelsea feels like the ultimate Chelsea transfer, like the culmination of the Demba Ba and when they signed the Nelka.
Well, it's like Giroud now. It's the same situation. Arsenal were silly to let him go, and he's a good super sub. He's better than Morata at the moment as well, so he probably should be starting ahead of him, but I don't think it fits with Sarri's philosophy. So yeah, they're in for someone obviously, but I mean, it's just the money priced around English players at the moment is crazy. But
I've got a theory, which is if you're a top 6 team and you've got the money, you should just buy the most informed striker outside the top 6 every January, because if you can play them, say it's a player who scored sort of 10, 15 goals, you'll get another 10, 15 goals, unless it's Andy Carroll. And then sell him the next year, or like in 2 years, sell him to West Ham. And but you'll be worth it if you can just, secure a Champions League place or maybe win a title if you're thing. I mean, the ultimate one, I guess, actually is when United signed Van Persie. I was just like, we'll just have him. Sure.
Get him in, win the league.
Why do any defending? Just score a load of goals.
I mean, that squad was arguably not a fantastic squad. I mean, Fergie, the absolute legend that he is, the squad was starting to kind of diminish. Van Persie, not single-handedly, but pretty much, Arsenal thankfully sold us.
He was right in his prime,
a player in his prime on the cheap to help us win a trophy that they were chasing. So thanks for that.
Yeah, well, anytime.
Well, what's been your highlight in the transfer season window?
Transfer season. You
got to get snappy on it.
Get the terminology right.
Yeah, not lots really happened so far, like the guys are saying. But from an Arsenal point of view, I think they shouldn't really spend any money this window, and they should save it all till the summer, and they should go big. And I think they should go for Harry Maguire in the summer.
Really?
Convenient, because they're not going to spend any money this window.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Looks like came out and said that.
He said loans only.
Sensible prediction.
Yeah, and they're linked with Carrasco this window on the loan.
Yeah.
But I've got to question him, because if he's a player in his early 20s and he's gone from Atletico Madrid, where he was playing, to China, and you got to say his motives are all about money. So is this a guy you want in your club necessarily?
I mean, what you got to appreciate is it's really a lot of money.
It is a hell of a lot.
250,000 a week in China. Like, who else in Europe is paying that sort of money? Which maybe I don't know. Maybe he'll come back and it's like, that was a nice gap year.
Yeah,
I've literally secured my entire future. Now let's go and win some games.
So you're saying you want a defender? You're looking at, I mean, I think it's quite clear that
it's got to be a centre
going forward. You're absolutely fine, but I mean, in terms of your back four, it's probably worse than it's ever been. Really, it's certainly up there. I mean,
we're missing Rob Holding actually.
You never thought you'd say that.
No, he's probably one of our best.
2.5 mil from Bolton, I think he was. Yeah,
he's quality though. I'll never forget that the cup final against Chelsea, where him and Mertesacker just had Diego Costa in their pockets, and he's quality. Rob Holding is.
I think so. You've got Bellerin, right back. Then So obviously, you kind of mix between Kolasinac and Monreal left back.
Yeah.
Sometimes Xhaka. Mustafi.
Get rid of him.
Okay.
You can have him if you want, like Van Persie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He probably won't win us the league. But Socrates.
Yeah, he's decent, but he's not the quality that we need.
It's kind of the same as what's going on at Man United at the moment. Is that you've got a handful of potential central defenders, but not a real experienced central defender to play alongside them. And I know you've got Koscielny, but he currently looks like the shadow of the player that he used to be. And
he had a bad injury.
I think playing one of them alongside one of the, an experienced central defender, then you're absolutely fine. And I think if you guys, like you say, although Maguire isn't necessarily experienced, he's Premier League experienced, isn't he? And he's,
I think he'd be a similar signing to when Liverpool got Van Dijk.
That's a big.
I think he'd improve.
Shout.
He'd improve at Arsenal, and he would improve our back line as well. And
you know what I would see as a obstacle to Arsenal signing Harry Maguire is that he's so northern. I can't imagine him playing in London. He doesn't seem like he would like it. Like he'd be confused by the big lights, and he'd be wandering around with his giant plate head, knocking into buses.
The tubes that run underground.
He wouldn't like that. You don't get that in the north.
Him and Rob Holden from Bolton at the back there.
Just trying.
It's like Max and Paddy, isn't it?
That's right.
Maybe teach him about fancy London ways.
So, chaps, just going back to the beginning. So, what is this transfer window, and why is it so important? Why do they do it?
Well, Dave, the transfer season is so important because
Professor Flanini.
it's where a team has identified a weakness in their squad. So it might be they're conceding a lot of goals from the left side of the pitch, for example. So they might invest in a fullback to stop supply down that side of the pitch. So
And try and sell their faulty goods to another team.
that's it, exactly right. Anything to add?
I mean, just that if you're Fulham this season, you basically have to identify your entire team. Apart from maybe Alexander Mitrovic seems to be...
You're welcome for Callum Chambers, by the way.
I mean, he is a very bad defender, but he is certainly a middling defensive midfielder, which has been great. He's been reborn. Actually, I made a note. I watched some of the game today, and I wrote down Chambers due a goal or a red card, which is I probably don't want him on a permanent.
Who do you want? Obviously your season's not going exactly how you want it to. Who do you think could come in and actually change it, or do you think you've got the players because you spent 100 million? So do you think you've got the players you need to play them?
And have they got the budget to buy anyone?
Well, the money's definitely there. Shad Khan, super rich, just started a wrestling federation to add to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's now got AFC, maybe the AFWs, all something. I've forgotten what it's called. Something wrestling, wow. So first signing this January has been Chris Jericho, who's signed on with Tony Khan for his new wrestling federation. No one for Fulham yet.
Get the walls of Jericho in defence.
Yes. I think definitely a established central defender. So I think the problem with our business in the summer was that we signed it was like a brilliant season of signings for if you were playing FIFA or if it was Football Manager.
They could just slot in and they play
because
well,
that's how, because they would, if they were on paper, it's brilliant. There's some good mix of youth, of players who are sort of desired by some big clubs. But the reality is, when you're a newly promoted team, sometimes you do just need to sign a 33-year-old central defender who's really good at defending in the Premier League. And so now we're linked with Gary Cahill, who's not getting a game at Chelsea and just picking up the last 6 months of his contract. And that's sort of a perfect signing because our defence does look a little bit sort of rabbit in the headlights sometimes. And there's sort of players who are stepping up from the Championship who are good, but they always have a mistake in them. So Dennis Odoi is really quick. He's really great at playing the ball out with his feet, but he is mad as anything. He's just, he got sent off at Wembley in the playoff final after popping up with a header despite being one of the shortest players on the pitch to get us to the playoff final. He's still a stalwart in defence. Tim Ream's playing at the moment because Mawson's out injured again, and Tim Ream is a player who doesn't necessarily have any pace, he's quite skillful, but he's not. You wouldn't say he's he's a really skillful defender. What we did have in the Championship was incredible instincts, such that he would know when to step out of defence and pick up a ball, pick up a runner, and that seems to have just disappeared for him. So putting someone between those two, or taking Tim Ream out and playing someone who just knows how to shout at a line of defenders and get them to be in the right place might allow us to stop games like today's result against Burnley, where we lost to a Burnley side who didn't manage a shot on target because we conceded 2 own goals. So that would be, I think, my big signing.
That's a sensible signing.
He's the perfect signing. He's not very exciting. It's the easiest. He's just got he probably doesn't even have to move house if he signed. It'd be really easy. He's only got 6 months on his contract anyway. Just you get some games, Gary. Come on. I know you listen. I know you're one of our 5 subscribers. What are you hoping for, Meps United?
It's difficult, really, because I say we're in transition, but we have been since Fergie. But at the same time, obviously Mourinho going was, although he did do some great things for us, and
Who's the stand-in manager at the moment?
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, club legend, mate.
Yeah,
club legend. He's come in 1-5 on the bounce. We haven't massively been tested in terms of the opposition. However, these games were ones that Mourinho was losing, so I don't think you can't understate the importance of him coming in as well. But in terms of signings, I think we're going to have I would have thought we would have a very quiet transfer window. I'd be very surprised if we signed anyone unless a real bargain came along that we could get. Because technically, you don't know if Solskjaer's going to be there. Maeve, he's a caretaker manager. He's come in on an interim basis till the summer, and currently the United board of directors are looking at who to bring in as a long-term replacement for Mourinho. So unless they're planning on giving Solskjaer the job long-term, then why would you give him 20, 30, 40 million to spend when technically the new manager that comes in 4 months' time is going to say, I don't really want that player anymore. The only one that I've seen that could potentially be a possibility in terms of this window is the Roma midfield defender, Kostas Manolas. He's got a hot prospect. He's linked with all of Europe's big clubs, but he's got a minimum release fee. I think it's 32.5 or 35 mil, and actually in today's money, that's pretty cheap for a centre back in his 20s. He's got 10 years ahead of him. So if he decides he wants to come to Man U, which I don't see why he wouldn't, biggest club in the world. So if he decides to come, then I think the club would go out to get him, because technically I think whoever comes in, he's a class defender, so they're not going to not be happy with it. I'd probably sell Phil Jones. I'd let someone else have the gifts and the pictures of he's brought us some good memories. The scrapbook will always remember him well. But
what's all this about, Phil Jones?
Have you never heard of Phil Jones? Well, Dave.
Show him a photo.
Have I got a treat for you?
So what is this about Phil Jones?
So Phil Jones is not a bad centre back. He's Man United at the moment. We got him from Blackburn, and he just, I think every time we play football, I think he just forgets there's millions of people watching and thousands of cameras around the stadium, and he just gets caught in very funny pictures. I mean, this one here.
So maybe Dave, describe what you can see to the listeners.
Well, so it looks like a version. This picture, it looks like.
Come on, Dave, get your words out.
He looks like he's doing extreme planking, but it also looks like he's trying to be a snooker cue, because He's got a football. He's trying to header the ball from the floor.
So we'll
There we go. Phil Jones, sentient snooker cube.
we'll put up the pictures afterwards that Dave's looking at.
Maybe do a drawing as well, Dave.
fine.
for the
Can you?
website.
You've got a pen and paper there. Can you just do? If you can just render Phil Jones' head, and Meps, do you want to find Dave a lovely picture of Phil
headshot.
Jones for him
Yeah, of course.
to replica, and then we'll post that up on our Twitter. So back on at Offside Traps, and we'll use the hashtag for this episode, which is hashtag Offside Chaps.
So
yeah, if you
Dave,
can-
draw that, and we'll put that up.
This chap, he looks like he's. He looks like there's a huge fist that's just about to. It's approaching his.
Like he's on total wipeout.
And he's just seeing his whole life flash before his eyes.
You saying that Phil Jones is having an existential crisis at all times?
And I'll try and draw this face, but I'm just trying to do the extreme lying down one. I know the snooker cue. I think I did.
So while Dave's drawing those, Meps, do you want to keep telling us about United's transfer window?
I think we're quite. I think we're all right. I just think we need another centre back, possibly a backup left back, central mid.
We're just-
I'm still looking at
can't-
Phil Jones' faces.
You can't just scroll through Phil Jones.
Oh, we'll go through that in a minute. Central midfield. I think we're fine. We got off on a tangent. Haven't we?
I hear Fulham are looking to get rid of a few players, Vince.
I don't think we'll be picking up too many of them. But I think attacking wise, I think we're sorted. I don't think we need. Rashford's finally being played up front, exactly where he should be playing. Got Martial and Sanchez, who looks. He's only played one game since coming back, but he's looking like he's ready to play again. So I don't think we're far away. Pogba's revitalised now, so I just think one central defender that will play alongside what we've got, and I think just instill a bit of confidence in the guys and get the attacking football going again. And I think we'll be back to where it's going to take time, but I think we need the right manager in to do that. So.
I guess a concern. It'll be a shame if, assuming Solskjaer doesn't get the job full time, if someone other than Pochettino comes in, because Pochettino seems like he's quite flexible as a manager, who's got a bit of a Mourinho style, like he has like a style he wants to play, or a specific, like these are the players I want to bring in, because I think there are good players there who are going to get marginalised if he wants to play flying wingers, then suddenly Rashford's out on the wing again until he can replace him with someone else.
Well, that's why they're saying about bringing a director of football in, because at the moment, if without a director of football, technically would come in and say, this is the United ethos, this is how United should be playing football. What manager would bring this style of football to the club, and what players would bring this style of football to the club?
I've got a bold suggestion for you for director of football.
Oh, God.
Jose Mourinho. Bring him back. My God, just keep the wrestling theme going.
What about
Jumbotron announcement. It's Jose Mourinho.
What about Phil Jones?
That's great. And a little addition of your phone getting a text. So.
Well, that's another follower, guys.
Oh,
What?
It's
Who's this one? Let's have a
Oh
look.
my God! The Twitter is kicking off. Little do they know that every single new follower is going to be live announced.
It's our friend Peter.
yeah. Hey, good old Phantom Pete.
Let's give him a follow back. Hello, Pete.
So
RIP.
we've increased our Twitter following to
4 to 6 now.
46 in the space of one episode.
And Dave still hasn't followed us, which is good.
Still, yeah, one
Still
of the
hasn't-
founding members.
Still hasn't opened a Twitter account, but
And hello to James Cornell, an Irish entrepreneur.
Well, James Cornell, who's obviously, shrewd operator. He's got in early doors. One of the first 6 followers of soon-to-be massively internationally successful football podcast, Offside Traps. Hashtag Offside Chaps.
Do you have an affinity with the club, Dave? Or do we need
No,
to get you a club?
I remember
How does this work?
I remember many years ago someone said that a good team for me would be Palace or Fulham. I suppose, I've got an affinity with Palace just because I went to see them once with my boss and he loves Palace. And they won against Swansea and I was quite impressed with that.
Really? What was the score? Do you remember?
I can't remember. 2-0, 1-0. We won. So
We.
We-
Well, I think that's...
This is a moment. There we go. We got a Palace fan right here.
That's it.
there were a few things I was quite impressed about with that game. One was the there's security of all, because basically the Swansea fans were kind of in a
The
little
logistics.
logistics, not the football. But the Swansea fans were all in this like little penned area, and after half time, they was for some reason a little half cut. I don't quite know how that happened, but so they were a bit rowdy, and then as soon as someone looked like they were trying to, get a bit more rowdy than everyone else, a whole load, about 100 security guards just came and just surrounded them, and I thought it's pretty impressive.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
very good. So that was the first thing. Then the second thing was the ultra fans that they had. They bloody love Crystal Palace.
They bloody love Arsenal. I'll tell you one thing about the Crystal Palace ultras is that they famously love Arsenal.
But they and then Alan Pardew, was it Pardew?
Partridge.
Partridge? No, Pardew. The old manager. Or was it two,
Back of the net.
3 managers ago? Anyway, he came out and said thanks to all the fans. That was after the Swansea fans had been marched out. He came and said thanks to everyone. And I said, you're welcome.
That's nice. You would love the current Crystal Palace manager, Roy Hodgson. He's a real jet.
I know Roy Hodgson. Was he the old England manager?
He was England manager.
It was.
Knowledge.
And before that, Fulham manager. And a brief stint as Liverpool manager, which everyone wants to forget about.
So yeah, no, I don't follow a team, but I
You're
think
a Palace fan.
think
Palace
so?
fan.
Yeah, I suppose Palace fan.
Who do you think Palace should buy?
David Beckham, does he still play football?
It's bold. It's bold. I mean, he probably still has a kick around every now and then. He'd be better off with Brooklyn Beckham.
Does Heskey still play? I don't know.
Bring in Heskey.
I mean, he played, as I say, he played in the Soccer Sixes the other weekend. But
Soccer
no.
Sixes being for retired or on the
For
way to
retired,
retire.
yeah, definitely retired, yeah.
I hear it got a bit rowdy at the Soccer Sixes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone would have probably seen the McAteer Owen bust up. It was handbags really, but McAteer got sent off and Owen didn't, and then England went on to win the trophy. They won the whole tournament, so and then Emil Heskey got to lift the trophy. Football came home finally.
Speaking of footballers in their later years, I read a story in preparation for this podcast about a Japanese player who'd been re-signed for another season at the age of 51.
I think that might be the oldest
Yeah,
player.
that's amazing, isn't it?
Nuts. Didn't George Ware play for Liberia?
Oh, really? Did he?
Yeah, I
He's
think
as president of Liberia.
Yeah, he selected himself.
And wasn't Carnu always like 106 when he was signed by a new team? So
I think it's a positive move for the Japanese to sign this 51-year-old. It's showing that it's not just a young man's game. Yeah.
So would you sign in for Palace?
I don't really know anything about him apart from he's 51, but on that basis, yeah, why not?
You can't say no, can
Can't
you?
say no.
That'd be age discrimination.
Yeah,
If he applies for the job,
you got to consider him at least.
So we've covered our thoughts on football. What's your background with football?
My background of football.
Yeah.
I've played some five-a-side, and like I said, I've got an Emil Heskey t-shirt. I think I've still got it anyway. I'm looking forward to when I can sell it on and
Sell it on.
and earn my millions when he becomes famous.
Oh,
Well,
I think it's
you still think he's got time?
ship sailed. I
Well, he
think.
just played the sixes or whatever.
You going cricket on us?
The 66s. No, I quite like what I like about football is I like the fact that it's like every man's game. It's quite simple to understand. It gets everyone. Everyone can be interested in it, and it crosses, it transcends all boundaries, all nationalities, all everything. I think it's a great way for kids to learn about different countries. And I love the banter. I just can never participate in it because I don't know anything about football. But I'm learning a lot through this podcast. And that leads me on to what I think is a big story of the week, the Spygate story.
Spygate
Do you guys want to talk about Spygate?
dropping down into the championship, the murky world of the championship.
So, does someone want to explain what Spygate's all about?
Sure. So, Leeds, managed by Marcelo Bielsa, and Derby, managed by young up-and-comer Frank Lampard.
A direct quote from Dave earlier.
Hasn't he done well?
Hasn't he done
well?
Are
'Cause
both,
yeah.
I think, both in contention for promotion. Certainly in the playoff places at the moment. Stop showing Dave pictures of Phil Jones. It's
Sorry.
it's disrupted everything. So they're certainly both title contenders, I would say, in the championship this year. And Marcelo Bielsa apparently, allegedly.
Well, not even he came out in the pre-match conference yesterday and said, "I sent the guy to do it."
I authorised it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It's commonplace in South America.
Well, yeah.
Every other country he's managed in, and Spain, etc. Yeah, apparently it's only England that this isn't natural behaviour. But
So we haven't actually said what he did. You said he's admitted doing it.
Oh.
So Bielsa, in preparation, sent a spy to go and watch Derby's training and give them a leg up on the opposition and know what's going on.
What's everyone's views on it?
I think surely that guy's mistake was wearing a Leeds United outfit. Because that's the only way I can presume that everyone realised that he was a Leeds United man.
He was wearing the full kit.
Yeah,
Number
full kit
one,
with an arrow saying, I'm from Leeds United, been sold by...
Shirt number 007.
Apparently, Leeds United have a punch on for this because they sent the guy to the bushes.
The first fixture of the season, that's Lampard came out and said the same yesterday, that they found someone in the bushes from Leeds and they kicked him out and didn't make a fuss of it at that point. But this time round, the guy actually broke into the training ground, cut through the fence, I think. And
What?
And yeah.
Well, that's
maybe the bloke
very
thought it was his
exciting.
own training ground and he just got a bit confused.
He cuts his way into the training ground every day. It's like, sorry. I am obviously, I don't condone breaking and entering, but I am not sure how much you can learn from watching a training match.
See, I'm the opposite. I think that by going to training the day before, you're seeing the formation, the exact starting 11. You're seeing players that potentially are injured, the other opposite team don't know are injured. Which is the case in this because Harry Wilson, who's been on fire and form for Derby this season, he wasn't going to be playing, and Leeds weren't to know that without the spy seeing it. So and then. They can then prepare for that. They can prepare to the formation. They can watch, the kind of set pieces, what they're doing at set pieces, attacking and defending. And it's kind of, I don't know. I just think it gives a massive upper hand. I'm not saying, it's not illegal in the country, so it's it's going to be difficult to punish. But I just think it's just not the English way, is it?
It's just bang out of order, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think? What do you think, Flan?
Yeah, I think probably fair enough trying to get the upper hand, but I hadn't realised that he'd, caused kind of criminal damage. I like the thought of him rather than hiding in the bush, like in the cartoons where they kind of pick up the bush and then walk along a few places and then put it down again.
Bush in the middle of the training.
Was that there?
Right on the centre spot.
Or just head underneath one of the training cones, just popping up. Maybe you should be allowed to do it if you have a sense of humour about it.
Yeah.
If you're in a bush, hilarious. If you're cutting in, not allowed.
What's your legal spin on it?
Well, I don't know. I tried to look at the FA rules earlier, and it was a bit difficult to see. I was quite impressed by how many rules there were for all of football.
It's quite a big game.
It's a very big game, very big, hundreds and hundreds of pages. But I was very impressed with it. But I couldn't find the rules that said what were offences in the game, and on and off the pitch, So I couldn't actually identify that yet, but I will. I'll do my homework.
I'd like to know what your favourite rule is.
My favourite rule, but there are thousands and thousands.
Yeah, that's
maybe
fine.
this is some homework for next
Some
week.
homework.
Okay,
Read the
try and
entire-
find the spying rules, but also come back with your favourite rule.
Or the quirkiest rule.
So that pretty much wraps it up, I think, for Football Chat for this week. Has anyone been up to anything interesting?
I've put on too much weight over Christmas.
I hear you, Mubs.
The clothes,
God.
the work clothes have been very, very tight. I've actually had to upgrade to my more forgiving work trousers this week. They haven't been seen since the early spring of 17, I don't think, to be honest with you. So they've had another look out. Another airing, yeah. So I've been trying to go for a few runs and that. But yeah, otherwise mainly just trying to fit into my clothing.
So here's a horrible story from this week from the bleakest, dark depths of my life. So on the way to bus to work this week, and put on a slightly more fitted shirt for the office, and I kind of noticed when I put it on, I was like, oh, that's a bit tight, better cut down Christmas weight. And when I sat on the bus, I looked down and just one of the buttons had just opened on my shirt. And I just sat there with my belly button poking out on the 40 bus from like London Bridge. I'm just the most disgusting human being I've ever. So did that up, put on a cardigan.
How long do you reckon you were going?
Could have been out for like 20 whole minutes.
Wow.
What time of day are we talking?
So this is like peak commuter time. 8:30. I'd have been on that bus.
And you wondered why that lady was tutting at you. It
Tutting,
wasn't because
tutting and licking her lips. She was not.
She was getting an echo back from his belly button.
She didn't understand how I could be such a hairy pregnant woman. Which really, it confused her. Visually, it was a lot.
Were you sitting in the pregnant seat as well?
Oh yeah, of course. I was using it as a way to get those premium seats. God, I've never felt so like disappointed in myself. When I looked down, I was like, "What have I become? My life has taken a bad turn." So that was my week.
Yeah, unlike you guys, I struggled to get the old work trousers on the first day back in January. So I've been playing football, five-a-side football, a couple of times so far this year, and I scored the best goal ever.
Really,
That's a big statement.
It is a big shout.
So
I set the scene.
Huge claim.
I set the scene.
Because we scored a pretty worldy goal back in the day. But...
An absolute worldie, didn't we?
Yeah.
At the Mole Barn in Leatherhead.
Yeah, shout out.
That's it.
Follow us back.
That's it.
I'm cutting all of the mole barn stuff.
This one. So, we were playing 7-a-side, and I received the ball on about the halfway line, and I was the furthest forward. And just none of my team were moving. So, I was looking up, looking around, trying to find space. There was no space, no one was running, so I just thought I'll have a shot. It just sailed in, postage stamp, top
Really?
corner. It was a beauty.
Wow.
Absolute beauty.
That sounds great, and with no other witnesses to back it up.
That's it.
We'll just have to believe you that it happened.
Just my memories.
So I imagine that's where the picture of Phil Jones came from.
Yeah, that's right.
Shot with that flying in the top bins.
Did it win the match, Flo?
We did. We won. Yeah. It was very good.
Was that the winner?
No, we won by a few goals, but
It was
yeah.
no one else on the pitch.
those boys took one hell of a beating.
7 on one side.
Yeah, I felt I'm very out of shape. I felt like I was going to be sick after about 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, Dave, you been up to anything interesting this week?
Well, chaps, I've been listening to Queen's back catalogue.
Okay.
Right.
All week.
Just
All week. I get my train journey into and out of work is about an hour each way, so I've got a lot of time on my hands. And I was inspired over the Christmas break after watching a documentary about Bohemian Rhapsody. Not the Bohemian Rhapsody film that's just come out. This was a 2003 documentary that is still on BBC Four.
Why did you watch
disagree
Shrek?
with that.
You watched Shrek.
You watched that one as well.
I've not seen this one.
You should. It's pretty good.
It's the faintest praise.
Yeah, it was. Well, I was hoping for more. Anyway, I was inspired to listen to some of Queen's music, and I thought let's start from the beginning and work my way to the end. And they have quite an impressive. They've got quite an impressive back catalogue. They got 13 albums, at least 13 albums, which they released over a period of 18 years, which is more.
I mean, this is.
It's like I'm watching the documentary right now.
brilliant. But yeah, I mean,
How far in have you got? How many? So you got.
I'm on the second to last album.
All right. So you really have.
Call
You've
the
basically done the entire discography.
Yeah.
Well done.
But I must say, some of their later stuff's a little bit iffy.
Are you going to move on to solo stuff now?
Just constantly playing Brian May, playing God Save the Queen.
Yeah.
Here's the highlight of his solo career.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the song Barcelona?
That's a Freddie Mercury solo song.
Oh, is it really?
I haven't got
no opinion.
But no, he's got a great voice. I've heard about it. I haven't actually heard that song on the album, but he did it with an famous opera singer.
So that's your week. You just listen to music back to back.
Yeah, pretty much. Just listen to lots of Queen. Their earlier stuff for me is where it's at. And interestingly, here's a fact that I learnt about Queen from the Bohemian Rhapsody episode. So you know, I Want to Break Free.
Yes.
And you know their video is basically all the guys dressed up in women's clothing, doing housework and stuff. Apparently, they were quite big in America until that video was released, and then they didn't really want to know about Queen anymore after that. So that would have been 1984 or so. So they were 10 years into their career. And then Queen weren't big again until Wayne's World made it popular from that famous scene where they played the Bohemian Rhapsody song.
Yeah, Dave, very much stretching the definition of the word interestingly. Let's move on, wrap things up.
This podcast could also be used as a sleep app as well.
If you're still listening, there's only one last feature left, and it's to test how much Dave has learnt about football from this episode. So we've got a couple of questions that we've written for you, David.
Okay, hit me.
So, what centre-back did Meps say he wanted Manchester United to sign?
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
It's a bold guess, but it is incorrect.
It
It was Kostas Manolas.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah.
And let's see, next question is, what is the common term for the January transfer period?
The transfer window.
Oh,
Well done, 1 point.
Dave.
Yeah.
Have we seen the last of the transfer season?
What is your favourite club Crystal Palace's nickname?
The Eagles.
Oh, wow.
That is
Wow.
True fan
Wow.
99.
Hardcore.
And the last question: who did Michael Owen kick during the Soccer Sixers recently?
That's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know.
Give us a.
Just take a guess.
You must remember.
It's not Phil Jones, is it?
No, I mean you would have. That's not how that plays. Like that.
Mike or something.
No, it was actually Jason McAteer.
Oh, there you go.
Right, so that was what, two out of 4.
That's pretty
not
good.
bad.
That's
Oh,
decent.
was it
50%.
Yeah, 50%. Yeah.
50%.
It's all right. There's room for improvement, and that's hopefully where we'll go over the course of the podcast.
That's it.
Great. So if you ask me these questions next week, hopefully I'll plan the answer.
And if you've got any questions,
Yeah. So if you have any questions for Dave,
Or any of the Offside Traps team.
no, but I think specifically for you to test your work. If you want to get an interesting answer, remember to tweet us at Offside Traps, and if it's specifically about this episode, hashtag Offside Chaps. And that's it. So please, give us a follow on Twitter, and if you've listened to this podcast using one of your podcast apps, remember to subscribe and also to leave a rating, which is something that's supposed to be very useful for podcasts if you manage to get this onto iTunes or Apple Podcasts as it's now known. And that's it. Thanks a lot for listening. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, hello and welcome to what's the name of the podcast?
Keep that in.